Greetings, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Taurus as the Svamsa sign. And the sage Jaimini gives us the single phrase, a quadruped. So we're going to be breaking down what does that mean esoterically and discussing the ability that people with Taurus as the Svamsa sign, the ability that they need to work in their life in order to have a greater sense of purpose in their life. And that ability is external and internal resourcefulness. And just as a quick review, the Svamsa sign is the sign that the Atmakaraka is in the 9th divisional chart. It's very easy to find. Just find the planet with the highest degrees in your chart and any sign in your natal chart. And if that planet has the same number of degrees as another planet, look at the minutes and then look at the seconds if you have to. That is your Atmakaraka, again in the natal chart. Find where that planet lands in the Navamsa chart. And to easily do that, just follow the graph that I've put in the description of this video, and you can easily locate what your Svamsa sign is. And go over episode 2 of this series to truly understand what the significance of this sign is and why it's so important for us. And in brief, Jaimini puts the number 5 before his descriptions of these signs. And that number 5 esoterically means the knowledge of right and wrong, and then the choice point we have to choose what's right and wrong for us as individuals on our path in life, and how to live a meaningful life through that choice of doing what's right for me and what's wrong for me. So this is a really key sign to understand, because the characteristics of the sign are going to inform those important choices that we have as we walk our path in life. So, and of course, the struggles that we have in life, the struggles to do what's right for us. So when our struggles and our challenges are a quadruped, what does that mean? So let's start with the basics, the literal sense. A quadruped is any animal that has 4 legs, but more specifically the animals that we can domesticate, that are in close proximity consciously with human beings. And in traditional societies, the quadrupeds were the animals that distinguished people, wealthy people and people with less wealth. So the more quadrupeds you had, the more wealthy you were, and that really determined how productive you could be. And for example, a bull, when you have a bull on your farm, or when you own a bull, they can till the fields at a way more efficient pace, and so therefore increase your crop production. A female cow, you can milk a female cow and you get the milk, which is a nutritious drink. It adds probiotics to your system. You can convert that milk into cheese and butter and ghee, which is clarified butter, and you can sell those products or you can eat those products. So having a cow was also, even today, it's also a great animal to have because it gives you food directly, and food that you can sell at a good price. Horses take you from one place to another at a much greater speed and efficiency. Having horses is another sign of wealth, but also they're powerful animals. They can do a lot of work for you, such as tilling field as well. So having horses is a very valuable quadruped to have. And beasts of burden, so mules and donkeys that can carry heavy weights from one place to another. So all of these animals are really important for increasing the overall productivity in a traditional sense, in a traditional society. And even today, if you're living more close to the earth or living on a farm, these animals are extremely valuable to have around. And so when we're saying that the Taurus Svamsa sign is a quadruped, we're talking about productivity and value added to your life because of having having a resource that is the animals themselves to add into your life to expand exponentially what you're able to produce. And so these external resources is what Jaimini means in the literal sense, that these people, as their challenge in life, is what are my external resources? How am I putting my external resources to good use? A couple other quadrupeds that we can have in our life are dogs and cats. Dogs, first of all, are a security alarm. They can warn of dangers. They can also act as pastors, shepherds in a field to wrangle in and corral the animals. And cats, another quadruped, they kill rodents and insects and other pests around your house, and therefore they will protect against small little animals that are harder to see and to kill for human beings. And so cats as well have an immediate benefit to human life when they're around. I lived in a place where there were poisonous snakes that would enter the house, these little black snakes. When we brought the cats in, they would kill them, and they would kill maybe one a week. So they had this immediate benefit that you didn't even have to ask them to do. They just automatically did it. The price was that you fed the cats, but it gives a direct benefit to your life, as all of these quadruped animals do. And as I was saying, quadrupeds, they are closer in consciousness with human beings. And so they give this emotional support as well. And it's not just that they are these workers for you on your farm. When you really care for and love these animals, they act as this support system for you, this emotional support. You feel good taking care of them, and they're happy to work for you. And so quadrupeds are not only this raw material resource we have, but they're going to benefit us emotionally as well. We can feel a union with these animals on a deeper level, and we can love these animals. Especially nowadays, people love their cats and dogs so much, and it gives this a lot of emotional comfort. When we say quadrupeds, also we want to understand a huge key that the quadruped animals are doing. Quad, 4. The number 4 is a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angles are squares, and these are the most sturdy of shapes. When we build with 90-degree angles, they give this strong solidity. And what that means is that these animals, these quadrupeds, but quad as a term, shows that Taurus Svamsa the theme is all about material stability and establishing material stability in your life as a prerequisite before emotional considerations are had. These people with Taurus Svamsa, they need material stability. It's always going to be a theme. It's what's pushing them forward to do what they do in their life. Do I feel safe? Do I feel grounded? And do I feel that my life, if a problem comes into my life, I can't get moved so quickly, and that's what stability is. Part of what Jaimini's descriptions, why he uses animals, is because in the past, animals were an important part of omens that you would receive, signs that you would receive from the world. Animals would show that to you. And so for a Taurus Svamsa person, the omens received from domesticated animals are going to show how well they're using resources in their life. So if domesticated animals treat you poorly, you're not using your resources to the best of your ability. If animals treat you well, these domesticated, close to consciousness humans are treating you well, and you receive good reactions from them, you're using your resources in very intelligent ways. And when you're not using your resources well, what that results in is emotional instability. And as I said, stability is the key for these people, material stability. And so that material stability, what it does is it gives greater productivity. And the more productive we are, the more value we are able to generate. So why is material stability so important as just on an outset? Well, Taurus is an earth sign. Earth signs are all about the things that we can touch, the actual physical items in our life. So Taurus is going to be working on that earth level. And really quickly, why the emotional side? Well, because Venus is a female water sign that rules Taurus. So that earth, that material stability, is going to be playing with the amount of internal emotional security we have as well. Because Venus, as I said, is a water sign, which is working on our emotions. And so how do I feel about my material stability? How do I feel about my work and my labor? there's going to be this important interplay between these two points on a scale, you could say. Material stability, do I feel good about my material stability? An internal and external interplay. The commonality that all of these animals have is that they're useful and they're practical for human beings to have around them. If the animals were alone, they would do what they do. They would live, they would live their normal lives, but when we bring them into the human society or into human life, they benefit. There's a two-way benefit. And so it's extremely practical and it's extremely useful to have, and it makes our lives more useful. And the more productivity, the more useful we are, the more value we have, and the more we can generate value, and that would be we can generate more wealth. So these are also huge themes for a Taurus Svamsa person. Am I using my resources? Am I using quadrupeds if I have them? Or am I using my external resources to generate more value? Am I creating more value and making myself more useful to other people? So a person with a healthy Taurus Svamsa, they're going to have this understanding intrinsically that what makes them valuable is their ability to work hard. And that is the source, that's the core of what makes them valuable, this hard work. Think of all of these quadruped animals. They're all able to work hard. Say cats, a little bit different. Cats work hard when they feel like they're working hard, but you can push a horse. You have to know when to stop pushing a horse, because a horse, you could ride a horse until the horse dies. So you have to know how to read the horse's mood and emotions, and because they could expend all of the energy they have. Cows and bulls as well, they have a lot of power. And so these Taurus Svamsa people are very powerful people. And their labor is what they internally are feeling is this is my value to the rest of the world, my ability to work hard. And so it's important for these people to always be in contact with, is the work that I'm doing productive, or am I wasting my time and my energy? And am I toiling? And that's a key word. Am I toiling? Am I using my energy in a way that doesn't have a clear end point? Or am I using my energy that has a clear vision for what that energy is going to result in? Because when we're toiling, the energy, you're basically wasting energy. And a phrase I like to say a lot is, it's better to know where to go but not know how, than it is to know how to go but not know where. So if you have a vision for where you want to go and you have an ideal, say you want to have a project that you want to accomplish, but the ins and outs or the nuts and bolts are harder for you to really see how they work, you're going to have to carefully and cautiously work at those things with that bigger vision in mind. But if you just are hauling and working hard and putting in your 9 to 5, but you're not sure where that's going to lead you to, you end up finding yourself in a place that you never wanted to go. And you look back at all that work you did, and wow, that was a waste of my time and energy. So a Taurus Svamsa person needs to have that higher perspective so that they don't end up wasting so much time and energy toiling at something that that the results aren't giving them what they really wanted. You have to know what you want, and so that you can put that hard work that they're able to really put forward, so you know how to use that hard work in the most productive way possible. And so these Taurus Svamsa people, they're very strong people, and they know that their most valuable asset is their ability to work hard. And these people can often be very successful people, and they can gain a lot of money. They can have a lot of money in their bank account, not just having valuable animals around. They can become very wealthy. They have that potential. But when Taurus Svamsa is healthy, they know that the money is just a symbol for their energy, and that their energy is what is really the core generator of what they're able to gain, and that the results, that wealth or that prosperity, it all comes from a place deep within them. And that's a really healthy expression of a Taurus Svamsa, knowing their true worth and knowing that they have a lot of energy to put forward. And guess what? I made a lot of good money in the process, which was one of my goals, but they know where that money came from. It came from within them. And they're not going to ever want to settle for less. And when they put a lot of energy on the table, they're expecting a lot in return. So when they work, so a healthy Taurus Svamsa puts a lot of work out and they want a good return on it. Unhealthy Taurus Svamsa, they put a lot of work out, they get way less than they wanted. And that's because they're not directing their productivity in constructive ways. They're not practical enough about how they're putting their effort forward. And so they can end up receiving a lot less than their true worth. So understanding their true worth, which comes from their ability to exert energy, is really key for these people. And it's no wonder why after we work hard, we exert a lot of energy and effort in a hard day's work, mentally or physically, we feel really good afterwards. We feel emotionally content. We feel that it was all worth it, and that's that internal side. So the more a person puts that energy forward in a productive way, at the end of the day, they get that reward of relaxing. So that you can see that there's this interchange between feeling great after working hard. So as I mentioned, Taurus is ruled by Venus. And Venus is the planet of our ability to evaluate resources in the outside world. And so Venus has this ability to give us things of quality in our life, and it helps bring quality to our life. And that can be expressed in so many ways. It could be a quality relationship. Venus is the planet of relationship. A strong relationship is bringing more value to your life. You're able to be a better person because of a good relationship. And Venus is also the fine arts. It's the luxuries. It's the things that we keep around us that make our life more comfortable. Venus is our sense of pleasurable experiences. So when we have nice things around us, a nice home, nice furnishings, we're able to, those things are valuable to us because they help us relax. They help us rejuvenate ourselves. And Venus, a person with a Taurus Svamsa, can have a strong artistic ability as well. The ability for organization and bringing quality arts and quality material things into their life. So you'll see that these people can have a good design sense. They can have they have a taste for finer things in life because of Venus. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to know that Madonna has her Svamsa in Taurus, and she has a really obsessive mentality towards accumulating material things, luxuries. And she's a billionaire, but with her, she puts so much weight on having beautiful things in her life or being seen as beautiful. She's the material girl. That's the driving force in her consciousness. You could say her ability to generate all of these resources in her life, it becomes negative because she puts so much emphasis on having nice things around. But she's just an example of a person who has a Taurus Svamsa, but on that very intense, extravagant end of it, wanting jewels and wanting the best that money could possibly buy. And that within herself, that driving force, she's obsessed with the resources themselves. And no matter how many resources she gets, she's still unsatisfied. There's always more that she wants. So that's an extreme example of a Taurus Svamsa person, where they're so materialistically driven that it's never giving them that other balance, that emotional side. They never are fully emotionally satisfied because of the overemphasis on having great things around them. So as I said, these people with the Taurus Svamsa, they will have this theme in their life of money, and money, the root of money is energy. But these people can have a lifelong obsession with money and the idea of money and how to make money work for them or how to gain more money. And another example would be Floyd Mayweather, who is one of the most monetarily successful boxers of all time, and his nickname is Money. His nickname is Money Mayweather. So it's a huge part of their consciousness. The idea of money, but money in general, can be a huge driving force within them. And as I was saying, an unhealthy expression of Taurus Svamsa is putting way more emphasis on the material side of life and not the emotional side of life. But resources, money, resources aren't just money, material things. The best resources we have no price to them. And you could say, oh, my horse I could sell that horse and get a payment for it. But when you really love that horse or anything, you never want to sell it. It's priceless to you. It has an extremely personal benefit. And those are the best kinds of resources you can have. And a Taurus Svamsa person will have this theme in their life is, I want the things that are going to be so personally beneficial that I'll never want to sell them. And that's a really healthy expression of a Taurus Svamsa, because it sees that there's nothing better than that specific thing because it has such a personal value. And you would never want to sell it. And from this, you can see that beyond quadruped animals, the best resources we have in life are other people. They can give us the greatest amount of benefit. And specifically, that would be our family. And family life is really important for Taurus Svamsa. If they have a positive relationship with their family, if they have a negative relationship with their family, they're going to have this lifelong theme of the emotional health that comes from their close family members, the people that even are just living in their house that they treat as family. It's going to be a constant lifelong theme. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac, and Taurus is our early emotional upbringing and our early life education. And that's typically done in the close proximity. That's done with the family as our surroundings. So family is always going to be an important part of these person's lives, and using our family as a fundamental resource to improve their value and our value. And a person that expressed this well is Liza Minnelli. And I didn't realize until I started researching Liza Minnelli, when I saw that she had a Taurus Svamsa, is that her mother was Judy Garland. Judy Garland was in The Wizard of Oz. She was one of the most famous actresses of all time. Liza Minnelli was able to use her mother as a great resource. You could say she gained from nepotism, but she also was able to build her own career, her own identity, using her mother and her close family as a strong, stabilizing source. She had a very close relationship with her father as well. She was able to generate great stability based on having a very positive interaction with her family members, her parents. And so this is always going to be a theme in a Taurus Svamsa's life. And if a person doesn't have close proximity with their family, living with them, or good relationships with them, or they maybe have all passed away, they don't have any brothers or sisters, they're going to put a lot of emphasis on quadrupeds. So that could mean that they have a lot of animals, or they really depend on animals for an emotional support system. And that's all because Taurus Svamsa creates that need for a strong familial the resource of other people as a stabilizing force in their life. As I touched on a little earlier, we can see that the quadrupeds, they improve our life and as we domesticate them. And the process of domestication doesn't have to be just animals, but the idea of what domestication is that you take something that's rough around the edges and then you turn it into something useful to human life. It's making things practical and useful. And that can start as something that needs to be trained or disciplined more. It could be a habit that you have, but making things useful is what a huge theme of a Taurus person's life is. Am I using my value and my internal sense am I using my labor in a useful, practical way? It's an earth sign. So making their life, a person with an unhealthy Taurus Svamsa is wasteful, and they could have all the money in the world, but if they're not using it in a way that's beneficial in the immediate sense, they're going to have this emptiness in their life. They're going to feel that their purpose is not being fulfilled in some kind of way because they're not using their resources in a way that's immediately beneficial to themselves and to other people. So there's this immediacy about the resources that a Taurus Svamsa person needs to have. And as I said, with stuck Taurus Svamsa is stuck because they're not using their resources in a practical way. And that's useful in everyday life. And that's going to create more happiness when you feel that, yeah, like people that donate a lot of money philanthropically, those people have so many resources. A positive outlet, because they have so much, is to give it to other people. Giving money away in a healthy way, you're benefiting the practicalities of other people's lives, or whatever organization that you feel could use that money at the most productively. And it's keeping in touch with that cold, normal life, the needs of normal life. They always, a Taurus Vamsa person needs to always be coming back down and saying, is this useful in the everyday sense? And an interesting situation of this is Carl Jung. And Carl Jung, as most people know, was a very important philosopher who started off doing psychoanalysis of Sigmund Freud, but he went away from psychoanalysis because it was so overly sexualized, and he had a lot of disagreements with Sigmund Freud. And Carl Jung was able to develop a really fascinating theory of the underlying archetypes of human behavior, and that all humans display these subconscious elements, and that humanity at large, we have these underlying commonalities, we have these underlying patterns. And you can connect so much of astrology to Carl Jung's work. But what Carl Jung did so well with his Taurus Vamsa is he was able to take something so abstract, psychoanalysis, and the subconscious of our psyche, and make it understandable to other people. He brought forth theories that were able to show other people, look, this is the underlying layer of how we all behave. And we can take those well thought out ideas and make them useful. We can see these patterns play out in humanity's life. So he was able to take something so abstract as the psychology of people and make it useful and practical even today. And his theories are still so useful. Even though it's an abstract subject matter, it's extremely useful because we look through literature, films, we see these underlying patterns of human behavior. That's extremely useful. That's turning knowledge, that's turning something very rough around the edges into something that regular people can benefit from. That you don't have to be a psychoanalyst to really gain from what he brought forth. And that all came from him working really hard and turning something and domesticating his idea, bringing it home, so to say, the ideas of psychoanalysis, and making those patterns of behavior more readily visible for other people. And so now let's talk about internal resourcefulness. As we were previously talking about other people as resources, the material resources that we collect, let's talk about the internal sense of being a resourceful person. And as I said, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is a female planet. So it's working, and Taurus itself is a female sign. They're working on us internally. They're going to be in touch with our internal processes, with our psyche. And so Taurus is going to make a person very intuitive because of this feminine energy, increases intuition, can make a person cautious, persevering over the long term, and have a receptive quality. It brings this receptive quality of being able to judge things before making a distinct move. That receptivity is able to read a situation before it goes forward. And so that is what a resourceful person is basically doing. They're receiving information, and then they're making assessments and evaluating the information before they go out and they act upon that information. And being resourceful is looking at what's available to you and saying, can I make my life work with what's available to me right now? Do I have what I need right now to make things to satisfy my desires? If I don't have what I need, how do I get what I need? Am I being resourceful enough to satisfy my desires? And desire is an important word there because Venus is a very desirous planet. Taurus Vamsa people are going to have a strong desire sense to them. They're going to want to do things. They're not reserved in the sense and passive in the sense that they're just going to let things come to them. They're reserved in the resourceful sense that they know that they want something or whatever it is that they want. How do I get there? And I'm going to be very careful in choosing how I get there. And that's having the ability of being able to choose the resources that are going to satisfy that desire. So a healthy Taurus Svamsa is able to know that they have a desire to do something, or they know what their desire really is, and being able to be very selective about how do I get there. Someone with an unhealthy Taurus Svamsa either will have nebulous desires, and they are not exactly clear about what they actually want, and they won't choose the things that are going to get them there very well. They can have faulty choices of their resources. So this is something that you really want to pay attention to. Am I choosing my resources well? Is that the best thing for me to use to get what I want? And a very good example of this is Miles Davis, the trumpeter, the jazz musician. He is known for not just being one of the pioneers of so many, he created genres of music in the world of jazz, and I consider jazz as American classical music. It's not just soloing and being really expressive with your instrument. Jazz music is extremely musical. And when you hear Miles talk about music and you read his autobiography, you get the feeling that none of it was improvised. It seemed that all of that music was written down, and I think most of it was, but it's a very highly technical music. It's not free jazz where you're just improvising. But what Miles had was an incredible sense of resourcefulness. And what people don't, inside the jazz world, people know this, but what people don't know who aren't into music or jazz music is that what Miles did better than anyone was choose other musicians to be in his band. And he was known as the master recruiter. And so what was he doing? He had a sound that he wanted to hear. How do I get to that sound? He had a very strong sense of what he wanted to hear. He was able to go out and find the musicians that would give him that sound. He didn't just bring people in haphazardly and let's see what we get. What he did was he said, I need how that guy plays to be in my band so that I can get what I need. And that was using people as resources exactly to the degree that he wanted to use them. And he made people famous overnight, and he made the careers of many musicians. They became famous and they had flourishing careers all because they played in his band. And so he was able to bring in and he would say things like, I loved how that guy plays. I loved how he did this, this, and this. But I never brought him to my band because that's not what I wanted. That's not the music that I needed. But I love that guy. People ask me, why didn't he play with you? Well, because that's not what the music that I wanted. The music he brought in Tony Williams, I think was 19 when who was brought into Miles's band, his second grade quintet. And he was a drummer, and he gave Miles exactly what Miles was looking for. So that's an example of someone that's using the resource of other people in a very selective way. And that comes from an internal understanding of knowing exactly what you need and using that resource to get exactly where you want to go. So that's a very strong use of the internal ability of being a resourceful person. And I said that there's a strong desire nature to Taurus Svamsa people. They're going to want to have a lot of great things around them. They're going to want to satisfy the desires in a moment's notice, or they're going to want to be able to have the things around them so that they can feel that when they want something, they can get it right away. And so having more resources, you can get what you want right away. So there's a very strong desire nature, Taurus Svamsa. And one person who was destructive in this way was Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was Taurus Svamsa, known as one of the most famous occultists of the 20th century. But he was a person who was able to accumulate so many resources in the form of knowledge and information. And he had a very dark side to him where he was obsessed with learning the dark arts, essentially. and how to manipulate energy around him. And a lot of times that meant sucking the energy off of other people and using other people's energies. What he was doing, he used his ability to be extremely resourceful, able to gather information on how to actually conduct the rituals he was doing. But he was taking the resources of the energy of other people. And he, at other times, was trying to take the resources of non-physical beings, of demons. He wanted demons to be his resources. He wanted to use them as his slaves to actualize his desires. And the people that his followers that would live with him and be surrounded by him, a lot of them were destroyed psychologically completely because of his kind of vampiric need to suck off the energy of other people and use their internal energy, use their resources. So on the one hand, he was extremely intelligent person, but on the other hand, he was making people into kind of energetic slaves to him. And that's a negative, the vampiric side of what a Taurus Svamsa can be, is that they're obsessed with taking the resources of other people and using those resources to fulfill their own desires, sometimes not with their permission. When you look at Miles, on the other hand, he would create career. The people would have a career. They would be able to have a flourishing career after they just played with him in his band, and he paid them, obviously. Aleister Crowley, on the other hand, is sucking the energy off of other people, using his very strong ability to be resourceful. So you can see how that can go in a lot of ways, but what it comes down to is, what is my internal sense of, am I able to gather the things around me that are going to help me actualize my desires? So this is a huge theme about a Taurus Svamsa person. How well am I bringing things into my life that are going to get me where I want to go? And that's being very certain about what you want and what you actually want to do, and how do I get there? How can I productively work hard to get where I want to go? And internal resourcefulness is a huge part about what a Taurus Svamsa person is going to be going through as they find their purpose in life. So now let's talk quickly about the planets that are debilitated and exalted in Taurus, which will show us more themes about a Taurus Svamsa's challenges in life. There are no planets debilitated in Taurus, which means that no planet does very poorly in Taurus. So that means that any planet that's in Taurus can create material stability as long as you're working on that planet. If you have a planet in Taurus, you're going to be using that planet to make material stability, which is showing that for a Taurus Svamsa person, any kind of pursuit any action or any interest that you have, you can turn into a way to become materially stable. And as long as you're doing it in an honorable way, you can turn any kind of passion that you have, any kind of desire, you can make that into something that can be materially beneficial for you. And as long as that's what your passion and your desire, your inspiration is to do, you can turn that into a job. You can generate wealth, you can generate value using that. So any planet can be used productively in Taurus. But having said that, the two planets that are the enemies, that treat Venus as an enemy, are the Sun and Jupiter. So the Sun and Jupiter are the two planets that won't do as well in Taurus as the other planets. So if a Taurus Svamsa is not doing that well, it can have the tendencies of the Sun in Taurus. And when the Sun is in Taurus, what that can cause a person to do is look outside of themselves too much in order to feel inspired. And instead of having an internal understanding of your own individuality, they can copy other people and want to follow the inspirations of other people. And that's because Venus is being able to evaluate the world around us, and it's such an interpersonal planet. The Sun really needs to have a strong sense of who I am as an individual, and then from that, build a foundation for your life from that. But when Taurus Svamsa is acting not as well, they can be too interpersonal. And as I said, they can be imitators instead of really going after what you want in your own life. So that can be a theme for a Taurus Svamsa person. Am I chasing after what's glittering? Am I chasing after what other people want, or am I actually doing what I want? So keep that in mind. And then the other sign, the other planet that in Taurus doesn't function as well as Jupiter. And Jupiter is that goodness that we feel flowing through us from having wisdom, for having a belief system that informs how we act out our purpose in life, how we see the world from a bigger picture. When Jupiter's in Taurus, it can cause a person to be overly dependent on the material world in order to feel good about oneself. So again, it's more of that materialistic pursuit that we've talked about already, that a person with a Taurus Svamsa can have, is that they need a lot of things around them, external things, external pleasures, beautiful things, in order to just feel good. There needs to be that balance of, I feel good because I work hard, not I feel good because there is a beautiful thing, I have luxuries around me. You need to base your material world on your energy, on your ability to be laborious and create value from work, not from just the material things as they are, as they stand on their own. And those are some themes that people with a harmed Taurus Svamsa can experience, some themes. The planet that is exalted in Taurus is the moon. In the first 3 degrees, from 4 degrees to 30 degrees, the moon is called Mula Trikona. So it's in a very stable, it's the second best placement that the moon can be in, even above the moon in Cancer. So the moon is our consciousness of our well-being, our emotional well-being. And what the moon does is it connects us to things outside of us, and it connects us to things greater than us. And the moon is this social planet that wants to be a part of a supportive community, or be a part of other supportive people. So what the moon does really well, and what a healthy Taurus Svamsa does, kind of comes back to that theme of being resourceful, observing your surroundings, receiving the information that's coming to you, and putting yourself in a very healthy position to receive those good things from the world. So a healthy Taurus Svamsa is really able to put themselves in the positions to achieve success, because they know what's going to be emotionally helpful to them. They know what's going to validate them on an internal level. And the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's a really good theme for a Taurus Svamsa person. Am I able to bring in the other people that can be great resources for me, for my life, to push my life forward? Are these people really helpful to me in where I want to go and what I want to do with my life? And in fulfilling my purpose in life, am I surrounding myself with healthy influences? A harmed Taurus Svamsa is going to be surrounded by negative influences, people who aren't validating them, people who are draining their resources, people who are not giving them opportunities to be more productive and to become more valuable as a person. And so a Taurus Svamsa person really wants to focus on putting themselves in the position to receive positive things from the outside world, and to be able to put themselves in that position of being at that right place in the right time. And if they're not in a position where they feel that they're being validated, they need to then be adaptive, and adapting one's attitude and saying, okay, I'm not where I want to be, but how do I get there? How do I change? The moon is the most changeable planet. How do I shift about what I'm doing in order to get me in that position of where I want to go? So in summary, Taurus is this very hardworking, persevering sign. They're going to have this very important theme of, how productive am I in my life? Is my productivity adding value to my life? Are the animals in my life adding value to my life? But that simple quadruped statement really shows us so many deep themes about how the resources that we use, is it giving me this material stability where I'm not swayed so easily about changes in my life? Can I really create a foundation that has a long-term benefit, and that's having material stability? And from that, I can feel good about the work that I do. I can feel good about the value that I'm producing. And there's this really positive cycle that you can create when you discover your purpose in life, when you're able to balance that material and that internal sense of resourcefulness. And so those are the keys for understanding the Taurus Svamsa. The next video is going to be about Gemini Svamsa, another very interesting sign, and you're going to see that there's a lot of famous people that have Gemini Svamsas. So stay tuned for that next video.